We have lots to discuss in today's video, including the latest trade talk around the NHL. Of course, we're looking at teams like the Ottawa Senators, Dallas Stars. Could they even pull off a blockbuster trade together? NHL insider Jeff Merrick made some interesting comments today, getting people talking about a potential deal. We also have some trade talk as well around the Islanders, as well as the Penguins and the Anaheim Ducks. News from the NHL waiver wire. Lots of news from Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, Marty Walsh, as the NHL and NHLPA had a joint press conference ahead of the Four Nation tournament kicking off tonight. Plus, we get lots of news there. Plus, of course, the first game of the Four Nation tournament is tonight as well. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, lots to talk about here today. It's the beginning of the Four Nation face-off tournament. Canada versus Sweden going here in short order by the time, the game hasn't started yet as I'm recording this. By the time it hits YouTube, I would suspect the game likely is going to be underway or a bit into it. So hopefully you take some time and enjoy the tournament. I know there seems to be some mixed impressions or, levels of interest, you could say, in this tournament. And the way I'm looking at it is this. It's the first time in like 9 years we've had best on best NHL players participating in international hockey. Just enjoy it. Is it perfect? No. Could we have better? Sure. But you know what? It's something. So let's support this, enjoy it, and gonna have a chance to support your country with the hopes that these tournaments are only going to get better for the future. Before we get into news from Gary Bettman regarding international hockey and a few other topics, let's first start with a couple of the quick updates here. One from the waiver wire today. We had Minnesota with Devon Shore on waivers. He, in fact, cleared. That's the fourth time this year, and he's been reassigned to the American Hockey League. We also got word today that Noah Dobson of the New York Islanders has changed agencies. Now, that may not seem like a big noteworthy note, but in fact it could be, and it's hard to say, right? But typically players only change agents for a couple of reasons. And one is they usually want something to happen that they don't have enough confidence with their existing agent that they're going to make happen. A lot of times it's around a new contract coming up. Sometimes it's the fact that they would like a trade. Sometimes it's that they don't want to trade. Like, there's lots of things around it. Either way, that they're not happy with their current situation when it comes to their representation. So Noah Dobson's now represented by the Wasserman Group and Judd Moldaver. He's one of the top agents in the game. Pat Brisson's the top when it comes to like actual volume of most contracts, most dollars under management. But Judd Moldaver and Wasserman have certainly become one of the top ones lately because he represents both Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, amongst other guys as well. They're by far the two most prominent names on his agent of our client list, but some other guys there too that are pretty prominent as well. Now, Noah Dobson finds himself in year 3 of 3 on a contract, his second contract, which was valued at $4 million. He's had some really good seasons. This one's, I think, down a bit, of course, but, at the end of the day, I think he's a right shot, 25-year-old, fairly dynamic defenseman. Is he perfect? No. I know Islander fans seem to be frustrated with him as of late, with his ability to defend, mistakes, turnovers, that type of stuff, which I understand, I get it, but at the same time, like, he does have a skill set that's a little bit rare. So, like I said, he's a pending restricted free agent. He's almost eligible for UFA status. He wouldn't have too many more years to go, but I think he's only got one more year left before he's eligible for that. So, at the end of the day here, this is a situation where Dobson, is this strictly contract or is it trade related? We don't know. I know Elliot Friedman weighed in on this on some of his radio hits today, and he's not quite clear. Now, we know Noah Dobson's name has been out there in the rumor mill, but as far as Elliot knows, and he's the most, he's my go-to resource when it comes to some of these rumors. And to be honest, he says that Dobson's name has been brought up, has been in discussion for trade, but it was really only one specific scenario. It's not like they're out there shopping him. They're not out there proactively trying to move him. And it's believed that the Islanders and Canucks did have some pretty extensive conversations around Elias Pettersson, and that his name was involved in those talks. Now, of course, they didn't get to the point that they were going to pull the trigger, obviously, but, at the end of the day, those discussions did take place. There's enough people confirming that around the NHL. Now I know, so we'll see. So I don't know what Dobson's future holds, but he definitely needs a new contract, and that might be all it is. So we'll have to stay tuned to see what the future holds for him. When it comes to Elias Pettersson in Vancouver, there are some that were reporting that the Canucks had pulled his name completely off the market. And there's others like Frank Saravalli that believe that's not necessarily the case. Now that Miller's been traded, the teams got some of the drama removed from the dressing room. I think they're content that they probably kind of maybe slow things down a little bit. But at this point, Pettersson hasn't really responded with super strong play. Like he hasn't, I know it's been a short stretch, but he hasn't really found his game yet. I don't know that they're out there proactively shopping him or trying to get a deal done. But as Saravalli says, that he doesn't think it's completely off the table. Like some have reported that Pettersson's name is not out there. He says they're still fielding calls and they're still having conversations. Whether or not they get a deal that they like, that they're even going to get close on, is really difficult to say. But in all honesty, Pettersson's name still out there, and enough reputable insiders denying the fact that he's not off the market. I think they're just probably slowing things down here a little bit. But if they get a good offer that they feel like makes them better, they're gonna look to do it. There's no doubt. Now, as I mentioned, Gary Bettman, Marty Walsh had a joint press conference here before the kickoff of the Four Nation tournament tonight. They also had Bill Daly, the of course second in command to Gary Bettman, and Ron Hainsey as well, who works with the Players Association. Lots of good details. So it sounds like the plan moving forward is to have best on best international hockey every 2 years. The plan right now, of course, is they're going to the Olympics in 2026. One reporter brought up the fact that the actual agreement to send the players to the Olympics has not been signed yet, but they threw cold water on that and said it's not, there's no obstacles, there's no nothing to worry about. They're 100% going. So that's happening in 2026, which will be a year from now. And then every 2 years after that, they want to have international hockey best on best. The NHL confirming that they do already have the planning underway for a 2028 World Cup of Hockey. It's going to be a different format than what we see here at this Four Nation tournament. The teams will have at least 8 in the tournament, so it's going to be different. Now, they did say it was going to be an NHL tournament like this one is, but there's not going to be possible. They're going to need to collaborate with other either the IHF or other leagues to make this happen, because some countries, to get 8 countries involved or more, they're not going to have enough NHL players. They're just not. Like, you can do the 4 countries that they have in this one: Canada, US, Sweden, Finland. You could do Russia if they're allowed to play. You could maybe do the Czechs or the Slovaks would be close, but like Germany, they're not going to have enough players. Or if you had like Latvia, they wouldn't have enough players. So I'm not quite sure exactly how that's going to work, but a minimum of 8 teams in 2028, and they did say that they're going to start putting out a bid for hosting right now. And somebody asked if it could be in Europe, and they did not downplay that at all. They said that European cities would be free to bid. So no guarantee that it's absolutely in North America. I do think the odds are greater that it is, but it's not completely out there. Impossible to think that it couldn't be hosted in Europe. So we'll have to see about that. But essentially, like every 2 years, so we'll have the 2028 World Cup, then be 2030 Olympics, 2032 World Cup, and so on and so forth. And the plan is to keep it that way for the foreseeable future. So obviously there's that. The CBA negotiations are not officially underway. They said it would be getting underway sometime here in February. They seem to be, Bettman and Marty Walsh, very, very cozy, good buddies. It seemed like relations are at an all-time high. Absolute best. Bettman basically made a comment saying that when it comes to the CBA, they have absolute confidence that there will be no doubt that it will be done well ahead of the 2026 September expiry date of the current one, and that people won't even notice that we've done it. So that should give people lots of faith, confidence, and hope that there will be no labor stoppage and that things will, fly right through here without any hurdles whatsoever, which is good to hear. We also got confirmation that the Department of NHL Player Safety is overseeing this Four Nation tournament, and in terms of supplementary discipline, if anything like that comes up, it would only bleed over to the NHL season in extraordinary circumstances. So basically, anything, if we do see a suspension, it's most likely going to be just for the tournament, unless it's absolutely something crazy that they feel is justified. So we'll likely see that. They did confirm as well that players are being paid an appearance fee to participate in this tournament, and that there is a undisclosed amount of prize pool money available for the winning team. Of course, they are getting a big trophy, which I don't believe has a name. And then, at least as of yet, right now, we don't know of a name. We've seen pictures of it. And then, of course, they are getting gold medals as well. So there we have it. Sounds like things are well underway for the planning to keep best on best hockey well in line for the foreseeable future. During the media portion for the players leading into this, one player who's kind of made waves and kind of raised some eyebrows here is Habs forward Patrick Laine, when talking about Team Finland and where he's right now he's slotted to likely play a top 6 role, and commenting that it kind of made it sound like he was throwing shade at his head coach Marty St. Louis. I do wonder what the people in the Habs organization thought of his comments, saying basically he's looking forward to getting more ice time and how important it is for a player like him to have more minutes and to be able to have more regularity and consistency. And obviously we know when Laine was first in Montreal after coming back from the injury, like he was on fire, he was playing more. He was cut back on his ice time and benched because he wasn't I'm sorry, but the effort did not look good, and the results were not there at all. So I think the team and the coaching staff completely justified in cutting back his minutes. So I really wonder what relations are like between the player and the team. Not going to go out there and suggest that they're going to look to part ways or anything like that, but it is something that like I said, it raises some eyebrows, got people talking, and I wonder if it'll cause any kind of strain or anything between him and the team and the coach. And we'll see after the tournament comes to a close and he goes back to the Habs, how things pick up and where they go from there. And it's going to be interesting to watch as well. One name to keep an eye on as well, I know Pittsburgh Hockey Now, Dan Krajinski, talking about some moves that Kyle Dubas could make for the Penguins. This is more of a most likely for the offseason and moving forward for years and beyond. Looking at some younger players, because of course we know this team needs to add more youth and skill and try to get this team kind of retooled here to have any chance at all of competing while Crosby's still playing. It's going to take a while. I mean, this team is out of the playoffs now a number of years in a row. Not looking good for this year. How much longer is it going to take? There's not much in the cupboard on working their way up to the NHL level. It could, the Penguins could see some dark days in the not too distant future before things really get better. But of course, the article in Krajinski suggests that Dubas really kind of focus on some RFAs that may have a hard time getting contracts done, players that teams might be reluctant to go long term with them, and because of that might end up willing to explore either a trade or an offer sheet. And one of the names that has been mentioned is Mason McTavish. The other one was Gabe Vilardi. I don't think Winnipeg's going to have a hard time getting that done, to be honest. But McTavish, I do wonder, in his third season now, former number 3 overall pick. I'm not saying he hasn't been good. I'm not sure he's been good to the level that people thought he would be by now. I know my expectations for Mason McTavish were definitely a little bit higher based on how he played in junior and in World Juniors and how he kind of started his career. I honestly thought he would be a more dominant player right now. Obviously you look at the Ducks and he's not the only player that you do wonder. I mean, obviously, Leo Carlsson appears to be a big piece of that future team. You'd think McTavish would be a guy they'd build around. It's Trevor Zegras has been the guy getting most of the question marks, if you will. They got Cutter Gauthier. Obviously he's, had a slower start as well. A lot of these guys may not be long-term Ducks, at least some of them, right? It's always possible as they kind of find that right mix and right, going forward here with some of these players as they evolve into top-notch players. Could McTavish be a guy that's moved? I would have thought not long ago that that's less likely. I still would say it's not super likely, but based on how things have gone and how he personally has performed, I do wonder. At this point, I don't see him getting a long-term deal. I see it being a bridge contract. We know how tough GM Pat Verbeek has been on negotiations, and look at how he was with some of the other young players there in that organization. So I don't think the negotiation with Mctavish is going to be any different, but interesting to see. We'll be curious to see if the Penguins do target any of these top young RFAs that might not get what they want with their existing clubs. And lastly, this is just a comment of an idea from Jeff Merrick, of course, an NHL reporter, personality, insider. This is not based on a rumor or any intel. This was just him talking. But sometimes, to me, when you hear some of these well-connected insiders talk about, ideas, and they say, "Oh, this is just off the cuff," or "This is strictly just in a I don't have any intel to back this up or anything." Sometimes you wonder if they do. And they just don't have it enough confirmed to really make it public. But he was on the Coming in Hot podcast with Jason York and Brent Waltz, which is a Senators-based podcast. And they were talking about the team, and they were talking, of course, both of those podcasts, Merrick's new show and the Coming in Hot podcast, both under the banner of the dailyfaceoff.com group. And anyway, so Merrick made mention talking about the future of the Senators, what they might do at the deadline and how the team has been doing. He said that the Senators really want to, swing for the fences here and make like a blockbuster deal. Maybe they should call Dallas and see if they can get Jason Robertson. And he said, he even joked after, somebody's going to end up, talking about this, and I'm probably going to get heck for it later. But it makes you wonder, when they make comments like that, are they really talking about something that they kind of know a little bit about? Is there any chance that Jason Robertson could be available? And we know he's coming to the end of his bridge deal with the Stars. He's definitely had, I think it's fair to say he's a really good player, but at times has been inconsistent, but overall still really good. So, Dallas has been a top team. They have a lot of good players. The cap is going up. They shouldn't have any issues keeping him per se. And I can only imagine from Ottawa's standpoint what the asking price would be. As much as Jason Robertson would be a terrific addition to their top six, and he would be the type of player that I feel like they are missing. To me, they are missing one more top six scorer. And maybe a player like him could be a great fit there. But I just wonder, what would the asking price be? That would be a huge asking price. And as of right now, Steve Staios has not been willing to include anybody that's considered part of their core. So, Tkachuk, Stützle, Norris, Pinto, Thomas Chabot, Jake Sanderson. Those guys off limits, and they'll tinker around the rest of it. Would it be Ridley Gregg? Would it be Carter Yakimchuk? What else would it take for them to get a guy like Robertson? I don't know. And then, of course, with the cap going up, they really could figure out his new contract. But it makes you really wonder if something like that could even happen. Like I said, when guys like Merrick and Elliott and these guys make comments at times, and it's like, oh, yeah, I don't have any intel to back that up. This is just an idea on my part or whatever. A lot of times you got to think that they are talking about something that they've seen or they've heard, and they just kind of wonder for the right reason. So it's not even so much about the Sens as it is, has the Sens maybe poked around Dallas and seen if they could get a guy like this? Has Dallas kind of, tested the market a little bit to see if they were to move Robertson, what would be available to them? It does make you wonder. So could a blockbuster deal between these two clubs come to be? I think it's probably pretty unlikely, but given who said it and the knowledge and the connections that he has, you have to think about it a little bit, and thought it'd be worthwhile mentioning here in the video. Is this something you think the Ottawa Senators should do? Is he like the missing ingredient there to really help take this team from being, kind of squeaking into the playoffs to being more of a true contender? And secondly, from Dallas' standpoint, what's the motivation here? Is there a way for them to kind of upgrade by moving Robertson? Could there be like a secondary piece to that? I don't know that they get anything out of Ottawa that moves the needle for them, but could they move that, multiple deals here and find a way to bring in another body that maybe they feel pushes the needle further. It's an interesting concept. So let me know what your thoughts are between Ottawa and Dallas. Is there any hope to this, or is this something that, obviously Merrick just kind of, randomly brought up? Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll discuss further. Enjoy the Four Nation face-off. Certainly let me know your thoughts on the game down below in the comments. Canada, Sweden, getting ready to drop the puck here as I wrap up this video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.